Hello everyone, how are you? I hope you are all well. Please do let me know in the chat if you can hear me properly. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. Donc bonjour et bienvenue à ce webinaire ouvert à tous. Avant de commencer, pour ceux qui ne nous connaissent pas, je m'appelle Cécilia. Je suis une professeure d'anglais natif et le Cercle des langues. C'est une école d'anglais en ligne pour les adultes. Nous proposons des formations d'anglais sur mesure en fonction de vos objectifs, de votre niveau et de votre budget. Et la bonne nouvelle, c'est que nos formations sont finançables par CPF. So, hello Vasolia. I will return to English now. So, of course, we can get started with our lesson. So hello everyone who is commenting in the chat. It is very nice to see you all. So today we are going to be looking at a very important business English topic, and it's going to be looking for a job. Looking for a job can be a long and sometimes difficult process, and we don't want English to make your job search any more difficult than it needs to be, since it's already hard enough. So today we are going to be looking at some key vocabulary and expressions that you can use while looking for a job. Are any of you in the process of looking for a job? Please let me know in the chat. Have any of you ever applied to a job in English? Or have you ever applied to a job that required you to speak English, that asked that you spoke English? Please let me know in the chat as well if there have been any specific challenges you have faced when trying to apply or look for a job in English. So Julien, not yet, but maybe soon, hopefully. Maybe after this webinar, you'll be feeling more confident to do so. So today we are going to divide our webinar into 3 parts. So in part 1, we will be looking at navigating job posts. In part 2, we will be looking at writing a CV. And in part 3, we will be writing a cover letter. So let's get started. So the first step of finding a job, of course, is seeing what is out there. You need to do some research to find out what jobs are available. Oh, Francis, that's cool that you did a job interview in London. Well, it's great that you are here learning more English, and hopefully next time you get to do an interview in English, you'll be feeling very confident. So many people find their jobs through word of mouth. Word of mouth, I can write that down. This means just from hearing about it from other people. So from word of mouth. But also people find jobs on websites. People find jobs online, maybe universities post jobs. And so a great place to start looking is job listings. Now, job listings are long posts which explain a job. They'll give you all the information you need to decide if a job is something you'd be interested in. So today we're going to have a look at some vocabulary used to understand a job post. So first of all, we're going to have a look at a type of offer or a type of contract. Now, Depending on what field or what sector you work in, certain types of contract might be more common, but this will tell you, the contract basically tells you your legal relationship with your employer. It lays out exactly what you are expected to do. So, one type of contract is a part-time contract. Now, a part-time contract means that you only work some of the time. So if we think that full-time would be working 9 to 5 or for your company's full working hours every day, then that's full-time. And part-time is maybe you only worked Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, you did not work. You're only working for part of the company's opening hours. So that's the difference between part-time and full-time. Now we have temporary. If you are on a temporary contract, sometimes called a fixed term contract, I'll write that in the chat too. This means you know when you are going to finish. So perhaps you're on a temporary contract for only 6 months, or maybe it's for 5 months, it's for a set amount of time, and it is not going to last forever. We have an internship. Now, an internship is again a short-term contract. It's often done by students, people who are studying, and the emphasis in an internship is to be discovering more about working, discovering more about a sector, and really about learning. The focus is about learning. Now we have a 0-hour contract. If you work a 0-hour contract, this means that although you are employed and you have signed a contract, you are not guaranteed to have working hours. So perhaps if you work in a restaurant maybe, and there are lots of different people working in the restaurant, and one day they might need you and one day they might not, then you might be on a 0-hour contract, which doesn't promise that you'll always have working hours. Now, another type of offer you might see on a job listing is maternity cover. So maternity cover is when you are working in the place of someone who is on maternity leave. So someone who is not working at the time because they have just had a baby or they're going to have a baby. And finally, we have freelance. So if you are a freelancer, this means you are able to choose all your own holidays, you have a lot of independence, you're not technically employed by the company, so you would have to invoice for any work you did, but you might still have a freelance contract which agrees to certain things that a company has asked you to do. So those are the types of offer. Now we have salary and benefits. So of course, when you are looking for a job, it's important to know what you're going to get in return. Of course, you're going to be working for money and you want to know how much that's going to be. So when we see salaries mentioned on job listings, they will be paid by the hour or per hour, per month, per annum, or per year. So annum just means year. But these are the different frequencies, whether you're paid or how your pay is measured, whether it's measured by the hour, by the month. This is just saying that you'll be paid X amount. So if it was €9 per hour, that means you'll be paid €9 for every hour that you work. And if it was €2,000 per month, that means for every month that you work, you will be paid 2,000 euros. Another thing you might see, of course, besides your salary, you might have certain benefits involved. So your company might pay for things. And one of these things are pension contributions. So when you finish working, when you retire, I'll write the word retire down in the chat. So this is when you stop working, when you've worked for many, many years. As you get a bit older, you will stop working, but you still need money, of course, to live. So over the time you've been working, money will have been added into a pension. And then when you stop working, you will receive that pension in monthly or yearly payments. So if a company offers pension contributions, this means they are going to put money into your pension. So they're going to help you once you stop working, basically. And of course, this is very useful when you're thinking about the future. So there's no difference. It's just sort of phrasing, Benedict. It's just some people will write it one way and some people write it another way. Annum comes from Latin, so it's just very old-fashioned, but some people do choose to use it. So we have annual leave. If you see on a job posting that there is a certain amount of annual leave, maybe 3 days, that would be very little. 5 weeks is what it is in France. So annual leave, this is time given to employees where they are allowed to not work, but they will still be paid. This is often just called holidays. You can say, I have 2 weeks of holiday from work, but this is paid holiday. So you're still going to be paid. Now, certain jobs, depending on where they are, maybe if it's in a shop or something that sells a particular product or service, they will say to their employees or their prospective employees in a job offer that anyone who works for their company will be eligible for discounts. They might be able to get a discount on the company's product or service. So this means you will be able to get the product for a cheaper price. You will be able to pay less. So maybe you work in a clothing shop and a t-shirt in there usually costs 50 euros or 50 pounds, let's say, if we were in England. If you work in the shop, you might get a discount. So every time you buy something, it is cheaper. So that 50-pound t-shirt might only be 20 pounds for you. And finally, when we have something that is subsidized, this means that your company pays for it on behalf of you. So something costs less for you, and it seems like it's just cheap, but it's not just cheap. It's because the company paid for part of it. So yes, now another thing you often see on a job posting is a desired profile. Now this is when the employer is saying what they want, what they are looking for, what type of person they are looking for. So here are some expressions that you might see in a job post about the profile. We'll have a look at them. So first of all, you'll see that these all say you have, you, because of course this is being written from the perspective of an employer. If you were reading a job post, you would see you. So you have experience in, this means you have previously worked in, you are familiar with this because you have done it before. So you might say you have experience in working with children. Next, you have knowledge of. Knowledge is, of course, if you know about something, you understand how something works. You'll say you have knowledge of the stock market in London, for instance. That would be something that you know about. So if a company wants to make sure that you are familiar with a specific topic, they may ask for knowledge of a particular thing. We have as well, you demonstrate. So to demonstrate is to show something. So if you demonstrate willingness to learn, for instance, this means that you show that you want to learn. I'll write that sentence down. You demonstrate willingness to learn. It's something you show that you do. And next we have you graduated with. So graduate is, of course, when you obtain a certification or a qualification from university, maybe from school or from college. You might say you graduated with a degree in English. This means that they're saying there's a specific subject that they want you to have studied, or maybe a particular grade. You can say you graduated with using this phrase down here, a minimum of maybe a 2-1. Now, a 2-1 is a specific grading system that's used in the UK. But of course, if you're using a different system, then you could say I graduated with a certain GPA or whatever metric you are using. Benedict, in response to your question, not really. It depends what you are talking about. Certificated isn't really a word, so we would just say you graduated with, but you could say you are certified in. So if you are certified, if you are a certified teacher, this means you have received a qualification for being a teacher. I'll write the word certified in the chat, certified. And if you want to talk about how many years of experience, a company might ask that you have 10 years experience in something. This means they want to know exactly how long you have worked in this before. Now, another thing that comes up is the application process. Of course, when you are looking at jobs, you want to know how the process of trying to get that job, the process of applying is going to work. So here are some stages that there might be to an application process. There might be, this is of course, first you send your CV, you send your cover letter. After that, there might be an interview. So an interview is where you have a conversation with someone who works at the company. They will ask you questions and you need to respond to those questions. Now, they might specify how this is going to be done, perhaps a telephone interview over the phone, perhaps a group interview. A group interview is when you do it with lots of other people at the same time. They might ask you to do a video call. Of course, we're all very used to video calls now after working from home so much. So lots of companies have changed their application process so that you don't go into the office because it's not safe. So instead, they might invite you to a video call. Now, this is where you call them over the internet on your laptop and they can see your face with your camera. Next, we have a practical case study. Now, this is relevant for some jobs and not for others. But if the employer wants to see whether you could do a real task that would be done in the job, they might give you a mock task, so a pretend task to try out, and you need to do it as if it was real and show them that you would be suitable. Another stage could be an assessment center. So an assessment center is where you go to usually the office or a particular place where lots of people are doing the same application at the same time. So they're also applying for the job, and there'll be certain activities that take place during the day. You might have an interview and a practical case study. So they all happen in one time and you will go there. You'll go to the office. Now, just again, some details. If you see that a job is maybe taking interviews on a rolling basis, this means that they are looking at applications as soon as they get them. So for some jobs, they might set the closing date. So the closing date is when you have to have sent your application by, and only then will they look at all the applications and say, we want to have an interview with you, we don't want to have an interview with you. Whereas if it's done on a rolling basis, they might receive a CV and say, yes, I want to have an interview with you, even if that was the only one that they received. And they'll keep making decisions as they keep receiving applications. So now we're just going to have a quick test your knowledge. So can anyone tell me in the chat, what do we call a short-term contract focused on learning skills that might be taken up alongside studies? Can anyone tell me what we call this contract or this type of offer? Perhaps some of you have done these at the beginning of your career or maybe during your studies. Does anyone know? Yes, brilliant, Sylvie, thank you. So it is indeed an internship. Brilliant. So in France, this is a stage. This is much more common in France that everyone does them. In England, lots of people don't do internships, but they are still, they're still found. And I think in America, they're quite popular as well. So what do we call the time an employee does not spend working, but is still paid for? What do we call this time? Or this benefit, shall we say? Does anyone remember? Does anyone know what this is called? So this is time that an employee gets to not work. Brilliant, Sylvie, thank you. So Benedict, yes, you could say the time an employee is not working is their free time, but they are not going to be paid if it's just their free time. It's specifically annual leave when they are paid. Brilliant. And finally, this is a question where there is no right answer. Francis, yes, we can call it paid holiday as well. That is a perfect answer. So as I said, there is no right or wrong answer to this question. I would just like you to form a sentence with this phrase. You demonstrate, and then you can make it up. Maybe something you would look for if you were hiring, or maybe something you think you demonstrate. Please form a sentence with this phrase. Okay, thank you, Benedict. So you demonstrate in cooking. We wouldn't really be we can say someone does a demonstration if you want to say that they show you how to do something, but you would then just say you demonstrate cooking. We wouldn't really use in this case, you just demonstrate something. So you don't need a preposition in there. You could just say you demonstrate cooking. But in this case, we're looking for something maybe like a particular quality, a particular characteristic. So I'll let you finish, Basilia, to yeah, so you can say you demonstrate a significant level of understanding. This means that you show a really high level. Demonstrate just means show, basically. You can demonstrate Excel. You demonstrate good skills with a computer. That's a good one, Benedict. So you would just say with a computer rather than of computer, and make sure you just put in an article in there. Great. So I put you demonstrate an I for detail. So this means you show attention to detail. So now we're going to have a look at writing a CV. Now, a CV is, of course, the piece of paper you give, or often online, that you send your employer to show them what you have done over your life, basically, your working life, your education, and it gives them an idea of whether you might be suitable. So to start, one of the things you might put on your CV is your education. So you want to tell them where you've studied, if you've maybe studied at university. So some phrases you can use. We have first, secondary education. So in English, we have primary education, which is when you're very young. And then secondary education when you are older, from about 11 years old and up. So if you're talking about your secondary education, this is like your high school, how you did in your exams, maybe when you finished school. So of course you graduate from high school, how did you do? So then once you get onto university, you can talk about different types of degree. Now a degree is what we call, that's the qualification that you get from being at university. We have a bachelor's degree. So this is the 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, depending on your subject or your course. This is right after school, and it's the lowest level of degree. We then have a master's degree. Now this is pretty much the same in French. It's just the next level up. So once you've done your bachelor's degree, you can become more advanced or more specialized by doing a master's. And then the highest level you can get is a PhD. Now, if you have a PhD, then you become a doctor. And then also we have a diploma. A diploma can be used for lots of different things. It's just another type of certification. And depending on the subject or the institution you study at, you might receive a diploma instead of a degree. Now, when you're talking about what you have done, you of course want to show specific examples of skills. So here we're going to have a look at some active verbs you can use to talk about your experience. So in a cover letter, in a CV, of course, you're showing your previous experience and you want to show your potential employer why they should hire you. So here are some verbs. First, we have manage. So of course, these are all in the past tense since you are referencing experience, something you have already done. So we put these are all in the simple past. So we are saying, of course, we're using this ed ending. So if you have managed something, this means you've been in charge of it. You have made sure it's all happened. You have taken care of everything and making sure it gets done. If you have coordinated, to coordinate something is make lots of things come together to produce a particular outcome, a particular product or a particular result. So you can say, I coordinated the entire event myself. This means I made sure all the different details and all the different organizational tasks were seen to. Now we have organized. If you organize something, this means you put it together. You made sure it was all running smoothly. It's a very strong word. You can say you've organized something, you've made it all work. Now we have led. Again, if you have led something, you have been in charge of it. You have made sure it has gone in the right direction. We have created. If you have created something, you made it happen. Perhaps you came up with the idea, you came up with all of the logistics, you came up with an idea for something and you made it happen. And finally, we have executed. Now, executed, again, is making something happen. It's perhaps you have an idea. The executing is putting it into practice. It's saying, let's take this idea and make it a reality. And in your CV, you might also like to talk about your skills and interests. In fact, you probably definitely want to talk about your skills and interests. So some phrases we can use to talk about skills. We can say, I am confident using. So this means that you are comfortable, you understand something, you know how to use something. So I am confident using Livestorm for these webinars, for instance. Now we have proficient in. If you are proficient in something, this means that you know how to do it very well. You are very capable of using it in practice. Then we have involved in. So this is more talking about experiences, also interests. If you want to say you are involved in something, this means you took part in it, you took part in it happening. So maybe you'll say, I was involved in my tennis club at school. This means you took part in the tennis club. If you want to say you are passionate about something, this means you are very, very strongly interested in something. You really enjoy it. You're very, very interested in it. And again, interested means that you like to spend time doing something. It makes you think. Maybe you enjoy taking part in a particular activity. Now, when it comes to languages, of course, languages are super, super impressive to have on your CV. So if you are bilingual in 2 languages, this means you speak 2 languages to the same level. You're fluent in both of them. So fluent means you can speak it like a native speaker. You can communicate freely. You can use the language in any situation. Of course, if you'd like to become fluent in English, do come and see us. So being bilingual means you speak 2 languages to that same level. So you might like to say, I am bilingual in English and French. Hopefully that will be many of you very soon. So now we are going to have a look at what we've learned. So can you form a phrase, form a sentence with this phrase, with this expression involved in? Again, there is no right answer. So please do just write down an idea. There's no right or wrong answer. I am involved in charity business. So yeah, if you're involved in charity business, that's perfect. What type of charity? Is that a true sentence, Benedict, or is that just made up? Anyone else can give me their sentences too. I was involved in R&D projects. Very nice use of the past tense there as well, Francis. So yes, I'm involved in project. I'm involved in environment impact assessment. Wow, that sounds interesting. Brilliant. So you all understand how to use this this word or this phrase. I have said I was involved in my university linguistics society. This means I took part in it. As we have already discussed. Now, the final question. What 2 words mean to be in charge of something? Can anyone tell me from the words we learnt, which words mean to be in charge of something? This was looking at some verbs, some active verbs to be in charge of. Can anyone remember? Does anyone know? Yes, so responsible, it does mean pretty much that. We didn't look at that today. I don't know if anyone remembers some of the words we looked at today that mean to be in charge of something. But Francis, that is a great answer. If you're responsible for something, you are in charge of making it happen. I think, are you saying led? Yes, led, perfect. So led is one of them. Now, can anyone remember the second? So there were two verbs we used to say be in charge of something. So we had led, and then we have managed. Brilliant, Benedict, thank you. So managed and led. So you might also be asked by an employer when you're applying for a job to send a cover letter. Now, a cover letter is a letter which explains why you want to do a job. So in this letter, you'll talk about why a job interested you. You'll talk about what you have done that is going to make you suitable for the job. And it's a chance for you to give a bit more detail than just what is on your CV. Now, we are going to look at expressing why you are applying. So when you are first opening your letter, you, of course, want to explain who you are. So you can say, I am writing to. Now, this indicates the purpose of you writing to the employer. You can say, I am writing to apply for. This means you're just telling them the reason I'm sending this letter is to apply for a particular job. You might also say to express my interest in. Now, if you are expressing your interest in something, this is you are telling the person that you are interested in a job. You're telling them that this is something you would like to do. And finally, we have the post I saw advertised on. So this is referring to where you found out about the job. When you are applying for a job, it is common to tell the person you're writing to how you found out about it. So at the end of this sentence, you might put the post I saw advertised on LinkedIn. Maybe you found the job on LinkedIn. It will just be the website or the company that you saw the posting on. And now we'll just quickly look at the difference between for and since. So in your cover letter, you're going to be talking about your past experience. You're going to be talking about what you have done. And some words that might come up are for and since. So looking at the difference between them. For starters, we use for when we're talking about something we have done for a period or duration of time, for a length of time. For instance, if you want to say, I am really, really passionate about languages. This is why I've worked at Cercle des Langues for 8 years. Because working for a period of time for 8 years is a length of time. Over those 8 years you were working, we use for. Now, since we use when we want to talk about a specific point in time. So you will say, for instance, I have been a teacher since 2007, because 2007 is a point in time. It's a specific year in the past. And since then, after that moment, I've been a teacher since that moment. And something to watch out for with since is just the tense that we use. We always, if we're using since, use the past tense. So we say you're illustrating that this is something that started in the past. So I have been a teacher since 2007. Now this is the present perfect. You're starting it in the past, but you're still a teacher now. So this is why we use that tense, the have been tense. So now we're going to have a little test of your knowledge. Can anyone fill in the gap? So the sentence is, I have been a manager 12 years. What should go in this gap? Does anyone know? Great, perfect. So I've been a manager for 12 years. And final question, can you correct this sentence? So the sentence is, I am working at Cercle des Langues for 2017 or for 2017. Now, can you correct this? I will tell you now that 2017 is the year 2017. Just in case that was confusing. Yes, brilliant. So for the first bit, we need I have worked, and then we need since instead of for, since 2017 is a point in time. So dear Nava, just be careful with your tense there. Instead of I am working, it should be I have worked. And again, I've been worked. That's sort of a combination of two tenses. We just need to use I've worked. So I've worked is just the contraction of I have. I have worked. So brilliant. You guys got it. Well, that brings us to the end of our webinar. Sorry, we overran a little bit today, but thank you all very much for coming. I hope you have learned something. And you're ready to start looking for a job, perhaps in English. Please let me know in the chat if you have any final questions, anything you would like to ask. Si ce webinaire vous a plu et que vous souhaitez approfondir votre pratique de l'anglais, n'hésitez pas à faire une demande d'information sur notre site internet. Nous serons heureux de vous présenter nos formations en détail et même de vous proposer un test de niveau gratuit à l'oral avec un de nos professeurs. So please come and say hello. And if no one has any questions, then yes, that will be all. Thank you so much for coming. Bye-bye.